Today we're talking about Trinidad James, arguably one of the most impressive one-hit wonders that popped up in the 2010s. He's most well known for his platinum-certified banger, All Gold Everything. The man used to be a store clerk before he gave rapping a shot. He dropped a single, it went crazy viral, and the next thing you know he's being signed to a major label. With a unique vibe, everyone was waiting to see what Trinidad James would become, but they shouldn't have held their breath. Just 2 years after getting all that attention, it all came crumbling down. So what the heck went down? Let's dive into it and find out. What up guys, Ali here and welcome to Ali Talks Music. Add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music as well. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now let's get into the video.
You know, me and my mother, we lived in Canada first because she had to take care of her sister because she wasn't well. In Canada, then we left Canada, came back to Trinidad. Then we left Trinidad and came to Florida. Then we left Florida, went to New York. I lived in New York. Left New York, then went to Atlanta. Left Atlanta, then went to South Carolina. Left South Carolina, came back to Atlanta.
Trinidad James was born around 1987, right in the heart of Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. His mother and father were from different areas, with his mom coming from Trinidad and his pops from Tobago. As a youngster, he and his family were always on the move. They first went to Canada when he was just a baby before returning back to Trinidad. After that, they moved to New York, then Florida, and finally Atlanta, where he spent the most of his youth. When Trinidad James got to Atlanta, everybody gave him a hard time about his accent. He enjoyed growing up there, but it was a bit difficult at first. To shut down those bullies, he came up with clever comebacks, making friends with his jokes, but by around grade 8, Trinidad was moving once more, and his family ended up in South Carolina, where he learned how to play basketball. This time around, making friends was really easy because everyone thought being from Atlanta was a good backstory. Finally, he moved back to Atlanta, where he graduated and spent the early days of his adult life. This is how he describes his childhood. My life has been based around hustle. Elementary school, I was hustling Dragon Ball Z pictures and Hot Wheels cars. Middle school, it was Pokemon cards. In high school, I started selling throwback jerseys and CDs. I just made a name for myself. I done hustled everything. We won't get into details about it, but I hustled everything. High school for me was just one big hustle. In Atlanta, if you need sneakers, I can get them. I definitely can get them now, but that's more of a personal level. Back then, I was connecting people to what was hot and what they needed. I could make it happen. I could make a phone call. I just knew the people with the shoes.
I'm successful continuously in the game is because I understand people.
Right.
I can see people because I had to deal with people growing up.
Right.
I didn't just have to deal with my own culture. I had to understand why white people think the way that they think. And you know, what is also my perspective as a black man compared to a black American's perspective.
Right.
It's not the same. Caribbeans don't think exactly like how black Americans think.
When it came to the way he dressed, Trinidad was always on point. He collected shoes and made a name for himself by rocking trends before they even blew up. Like a lot of young rappers, he began writing rhymes and freestyles around the age of 16, but he never really took it to heart. After losing most of his rap battles, which funny enough was his favorite part of rapping, he called it quits. By 17, Trinidad finished high school and began working. But even though he was still vibing to music, he gave up on the idea of making it big, thinking music was pointless. Eventually, he found himself working as a manager at a downtown streetwear spot, but you know how hustlers are. This wasn't his only gig. He became an assistant manager to some of his cousins who were trying to break into the rap game, helping them out with clothes, shoes, and photos to build their brand. Those same cousins had a studio where they laid down tracks, and Trinidad began gravitating towards it, freestyling with his buddies now and then. Around 2011, when he was 24 years old, Trinidad finally dropped a legit verse on one of their mixtapes. But it wasn't until 2012 when a brush with the law made him sit up and take rap for real. According to the man himself, this is how he changed. 2 months later, I got into an altercation and I got locked up. I got out the same day, but I thought to myself, this ain't cool. I don't want to go back into that situation. The hustling that I was doing, even when I was working at the time, it wasn't like no real life. It wasn't a real accomplishment. I was like, I'm going to open up a new lane to make some money, take care of my mom. So I was like, I'm going to do music, but I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it by myself. If I fail, I can just blame myself. I know how hard I go, but it's not always the same drive that people around you have. Once Trinidad made up his mind to pursue a career in music, he began writing rhymes in his downtime and working on his debut mixtape. The mixtape, called Don't Be Safe, took about 2 months to put together and had that future banger All Gold Everything on it.
Gold all in my chain, gold all in my ring, gold all in my watch.
The entire process was funded by his own money, and he built himself up from scratch. He also did not get any cosigns from his peers, but trusted that his work would speak for itself. The mixtape came out around 2012 through his own label called Gold Gang, and even though it did not blow up right away, it gave him motivation and made him believe he can actually hack it in the music world. I put out the single for All Gold Everything, and nobody really listened to it, but a few key people listened to it, and they were like, this is dope. It then just started spreading like wildfire. We got to present it, and that kind of shocked people. They're like, his song is controversial. Who is this guy? Eventually, Jay, Dirt, and the crew at Ballers Eve heard the song and knew it was straight fire. They began blasting All Gold Everything on Ballers Eve radio, and from there, Trinidad James took off. He began getting attention from everywhere, even before he really made it big in Atlanta. The mixtape even made it to some charts. It peaked at number 103 on the Billboard 200, not too shabby for an indie debut mixtape. As the mixtape and single spread, it landed in the hands of the right folks at Def Jam, and by December of 2012, just 2 months after James dropped the mixtape, he had signed a deal with Def Jam, which included his label, Gold Gang Records. At that time, All Gold Everything had about 3 million views, a pretty big deal back in the day. Just 4 days after they announced the signing, they re-released All Gold Everything as a single, and the song was an instant hit. The song went platinum, and Trinidad James seemed ready to take the world by storm and build his rap career. After this, other artists were like, yo, he's hot. We gotta work with him. He made guest appearances on a bunch of tracks throughout the year, like Goo Up with Gucci Mane, That Turn Up with Mike Will, and Flat Out with Wale. 2013 was another strong year for Trinidad James, at least in the beginning. An official remix to All Gold Everything featuring fellow Atlanta rappers T.I., Young Jeezy, and 2 Chainz dropped. That year also saw the release of his second single from the mixtape, Females Welcomed.
Now my side chick, my main chick, and my main girl ain't feeling me no more.
But it didn't do quite well as All Gold Everything. Meanwhile, Trinidad scored features on 2 more platinum certified singles around 2013, including August Alsina's I Love This Shit and A$AP Ferg's Work. Plus, he kept showing up on more singles by other artists like Travis Porter's For My Logic and Kid Ink's On The Low, and Kirko Bangs' Make It Mine. At this point, Trinidad James was so hot that he found himself in the crosshairs of a J. Cole bar. In J. Cole's Illuminati, J. Cole raps the following: My pops was club hopping back when Rick James was out, and all I get is Trinidad James. Now, this was a chance for Trinidad James to say something negative about J. Cole, but instead, he went on to MTV News and publicly defended J. Cole. He said the following: He was just expressing himself. Just in general, if you really step back and listen to the song, he was just spitting how he felt. And I can't never be mad at somebody spitting how they feel. Now, as if J. Cole was not enough, 2 months later, around August of 2013, he found himself in the crosshairs once again, this time by rapper Joe Budden. The song we're talking about is Budden's Lost Control, a response to Big Sean's Control, in which Joe raps.
Same for bandwagon fans, sit your asses in the same spot. Y'all them same niggas made Trinidad James hot.
This time, Trinidad wasn't about to take it lying down. While he didn't drop a diss track at Joe Budden, he did threaten to beat up the man. In an interview, Trinidad James said the following: You don't like me? then you fight me. Unluckily, despite getting hot enough to get dissed by other rappers, James ended up being just a one-hit wonder. He was still dropping singles and doing features, but they became scarcer almost overnight. He dropped just one more mixtape, 10 PC Mild, around 2013, and that's when all the drama began. It began around November of 2013. James was performing at the Converse Rubber Track show in New York when he said something that no new rapper should ever say.
I remember when New York ran this shit, dog. When Dipset was fucking turned the fuck up, nigga, like we was in Atlanta, like, oh my God, I gotta wear my bandana on tilt like Jewels. What the fuck happened, dog? What happened? I remember when New York rap was the shit. And us in the South, us Bamas, we was like, what the fuck? And we just did our own thing. But now we run y'all musically. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy, my nigga. That's crazy. I'm not trying to start that, but if you want to do something, we can do something, because I don't give a fuck. But I'm just being honest with you. I looked up to New York music. And now every nigga that's really popping out of New York, you might as well tell he from Atlanta. He from Atlanta. He from Atlanta. He from Atlanta. I'm just putting it out there. Y'all got more bloggers. Y'all got niggas interviewing more popular than niggas that's rapping out here.
Now, instead of apologizing and realizing how far he went, James went onto IG to defend his remarks. I said a lot tonight in NY, and people are probably gonna take the negative and run with it, but my main purpose in life only is to take care of my mama and keep my shoe game on 30 million. Now this is where things went left for Trinidad James. After saying what he had to say, the public was not happy with his words. He got a lot of hate online, and New York rappers also had a lot to say about Trinidad James. Mano got onto Twitter and said the following. Shout out to all the NY who let this rotten teeth at Trinidad James disrespect us last night. Somebody wake Taxstone up. Tell him this nasty mouth at Trinidad James is on the menu. After we clean this guy up, I'm straightening a few of you NY niggas out for being the vaginas that you are. Hey buddy, I'll be your huckleberry. LOL, I'ma brush those teeth when I see you, baby boy. You a street, right? Laughing my ass off. Trinidad James then retaliated with just one tweet. You a real bruh. You don't have to say that on Twitter. You better than that. You can hit my line. That's 100. The next day, Trinidad James went on IG, and this time his response was longer. Mano wanna shoot me for saying the truth, then shoot on. I ain't backtracking shit. NY consumers are a disgrace to their own culture. I don't ever have to make it on the radio ever. Fuck the radio. I'll die a real. I speak the truth, and the truth will set you free. Hashtag crazy deacon. Hashtag black Batman coming soon. You're gonna wanna hear this. I'ma die with a Trini flag in the air. When I die, bury me in a carnival. In response, Mano kept going in on Trinidad James's teeth. Laughing my ass off. Dude on social media saying I wanna shoot him. Ha ha ha. Nah man, I just wanted to tie him to a dentist's chair. Before it's all over, a NY gon' come defend him. Just watch. What the f is this? How can he even speak with furniture like this? Laughing out loud, we don't wanna beat him up. We wanna send him to the orthodontist. A few days later, the pair got on the phone to try and hash things out. When James pointed out that Kendrick Lamar got a pass for the same thing after stealing the show on Big Sean's Control and dubbing himself as the King of New York. In response, Mano tweeted, Kendrick rapped his position on himself lyrically. That's rap. James held a lecture on the state of affairs in NY. Who the fuck are you? After the phone call, Mano said that if James were to release a vlog apologizing for his remarks on NY rappers, they could move forward. In response, James released a video called The Truth Will Set You Free. He also avoided making an apology, claiming that he had nothing to apologize for. After this, Mano was furious. He then went on Twitter and said the following towards James. Don't believe me, just watch. I'm different. New York. Mano then did an interview with XXL and said the following. You was on that stage and you was having a moment. Whether you was high or drunk or whatever your moment was, that's not how that came across. That came across as being aggressive, abrasive, and disrespectful. You can't go to no other city and do that. What hurts me is New Yorkers. They don't understand. Kendrick said something. Kendrick was rapping, man. And there was a million responses that came right after. That was some rap shit. You don't see the difference? My Son was another rapper who was affected by Trinidad James's words. My Son confronted Trinidad James at a performance in NY. To My Son's surprise, Trinidad James was accompanied by some associates from New York. My Son and James then had a mature conversation and spoke civilly. And after My Son explained his point of view, Trinidad James apologized. Now, unfortunately, despite having plenty of opportunities, James failed to release much new music around 2014. His career was clearly on the decline, and this became even more evident when he got dropped by his label.
I wasn't dropped by them. I asked, I requested to be dropped, and they approved the request because everybody who signed me in the beginning quit or didn't work there anymore. So the people that were there, they weren't fans of me.
Yeah.
That's something that I want kids to keep in mind is like, you can get signed today and in 3 months that person can go get a higher position, had another label, and they're going to take it. Fuck what you got
That's
going
so
on.
scary.
You know, that's crazy as hell because once again, us as young men and women coming out of the streets, how whatever, once again, I told you, my parents split. How whatever, so we do look at these older people trying to do business with us as a father figure or as a person that I should be able to trust because it's like, oh, you are trying to help my family. You make yourself family when you try to do something that's helping out my family. So when you do something that's hurting my family, you hurt me, I'm gonna take you personal as fuck. You know, but that's just the game. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn that the hard way. And when that word when it was going around that they dropped me, I just didn't fight it. And the reason why I didn't fight it, because I know that I was going to request to get off, and I didn't want to come across as one of those people where it's like, I didn't want to give them any reason to want to keep me or to do spite by me. And like, hell no, I'm going to keep you shelf, bitch. You ain't finna do nothing. However, I just kind of like play like, yeah, I'm losing. But in reality, I was freeing myself of all the negative around.
Wait.
On some Kanye shit.
Yeah, it's great.
What they trying to say?
It's
He
great.
did it
It's
on
like,
purpose.
oh yes,
and
I'm
shit.
losing everything. Yes, I am. Everything that I want
Get away
to lose.
from me. I don't got
Got you.
shit.
Please, I'm broke, baby.
Yeah.
I'm broke, baby. I ain't got it.
On August 1st, 2014, James went onto Twitter and said the following: I should tell y'all, I got dropped from the label. My album is now free. If you hear your beat or verse on it, I hope you want dap, cause I got no money. According to him, he got dropped because of creative differences with the label. However, according to his former label Def Jam, the reason he got dropped is because he was not releasing as much new popping music. Nonetheless, James was contacted by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars because they wanted to use a line from his song All Gold Everything in their song called Uptown Funk.
Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch.
James agreed and received an 8% royalty, earning $150,000 by June of 2015. However, this turned out to be his last major success, as none of his subsequent mixtapes or singles charted after 2015. Despite releasing several more projects and singles, Trinidad disappeared from the map around 2015. Currently, he has diversified his activities and has ventured into other areas, such as appearing in the 2019 movie Uncut Gems and hosting the YouTube talk show Full Size Run, which he has been doing since around 2018. Despite this, he still occasionally releases new music and has about 600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. And his most listened to songs are All Gold Everything, Just a Little Thick, Females Welcomed, and Mansion. That's it for me, it's your boy Ali. What happened to Trinidad James in your opinion? Let me know down below. Video requests, be sure to let me know down below as well. New What Happened to video dropping soon. Also add me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.
Perfect.